The name of this video is Here's Looking at You, Kid. That was taken from a film called Casablanca in 1942. Humphrey Bogart said this. And I'm going to be updating you. I did the last video over a month ago, and that was when I had just gotten out of the hospital and rehab after I was poisoned by arsenic. And I'm making a lot of progress. As you can see, I'm doing okay. Last night, I don't think people really wanted me to update you because somebody slid me to the floor very hard. But you see, I'm sort of resilient, and didn't slow me down at all. Just made me a little sore, and I'm going to have a little backache for a while. But the reason why I'm being picked on is because I'm just standing in for every single person, because we're tired of the corruption, and that corruption is coming from the paper money. Many people understand this. There are more and more people that understand what's going on. We call them the critical mass. And because these people do understand this, we're in a different reality. And I'm in a relationship, actually, with everyone. There are a lot of people, many people don't understand how many people there are. About 3 years ago, Lee Wanta got drunk, and he told somebody that I had 15 million viewers in my social media. That's probably right, and that's 3 years ago, so there's many more that have been joining us. And from time to time, I run into people, and we have discussions, because as I said, I'm just standing in for everybody. We're going to be doing things differently. And the main thing that we're going to be doing differently is we're going to be deciding things for ourselves. And the way that's going to happen is we're going to cut off the money that's going to something called the Banking Cartel. That's Wall Street. That's all the biggest firms on Wall Street. And there are people that are behind those firms. That's called the black nobility. These people have been in charge at least 9,000 years ago. We know this because of the pyramids. Now, I prepared what I call an outline, and I had some very interesting documents which I uploaded on my social media, and the links were cut down 3 times. So I put them back up, and we may have to contend with some more links being broken. I'm doing things a little bit differently. I'm learning from experience. What I was doing for the series on DCTV was I was trying to give you all of that detail, which got to be very complicated and very boring. I was reading from a teleprompter, and what happened at one point was somehow, I can't explain how these things happen, but somehow my contact lenses were put on wrong, and I couldn't read the teleprompter. There are a lot of things that go wrong, and this is no accident, but the fact is we learn from our mistakes. And I'm very glad to be part of this whole process. I realize that I'm just part of the process. We're all in this together. The reason why I've been involved in the position that I'm in is because I was in the right place at the right time. At the end of World War II, Jose Rizal, who was then something called the Black Pope, that's the superior general of the Society of Jesus, and his lawyer was Ferdinand Marcos. They created the World Bank, and they deposited the world's wealth in the World Bank. And I was in the World Bank legal department for over 20 years. And I've actually never left the legal department because I was reinstated by Eugene Mierkov, and the then executive director for Norway, because they realized that we were all working together. And I've given you recently some documents from the executive directors and the audit committee of the World Bank Board to show you that everybody understood that things were corrupt. And a lot of people are very suspicious of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund because of their secretariat. These groups are actually not in charge. Jim Kim was fired a long time ago, but nobody wants to repeat this because the media is owned by these crooks. Many people understand now that the media is very dishonest. And it's not just the mainstream media. There was only one article about me in the mainstream media, and that happened to be in Spanish. And it was taken down from the internet. I have some links up there. But you're not going to learn about what's going on from the mainstream media. You're going to hear lies. And just because a lot of people have been duped by these lies, that doesn't mean that they're not lies. They're not. They're not true. One of the things that I've been telling you about is the real history. We've been lied to about what our history is. Christopher Columbus did not discover the United States. They were actually ancient traders. They were part of a culture that went back for thousands of years. This group, I've put some links to that culture. It was the capital was not too far from Syria, and the elites were the ones who were actually doing a lot of this discovery, but they didn't want people to know what was really going on, so they went and erased it. And our history books are definitely not accurate. What we think happened in 1000 BC was actually happening in the Middle Ages. And the Russians, Moscow State University and Mr. Fomenko has written a series of volumes to explain exactly how that is. And the way they did this was they looked to see where the eclipses were and where the eclipses happened. And they also looked to see who was active in history. And they found that the same groups were active, and it was just repeated time and time again. I've been reading these books because the volumes are very heavy. They're hundreds and hundreds of pages long. But this is really, you have to understand that what you've been taught in the universities about history is all inside out and backwards. And you can actually look at the cities that are buried off the coasts to see what this group was. There's no way that you can account for this ancient civilization that was buried any other way, but realizing that you've been duped. And enough of us know that we've been duped, and we're not going to continue to believe all these lies. And my position has actually, I've been educated. I didn't start out understanding how corrupt everything was. I was educated along with everybody else. And it's just that things didn't add up. One of the documents that I've showed you recently was the way I was working together with the board of executive directors. And in particular, there was the representative of the Netherlands, Peter Steck. He ended up having a meeting with Jim Wolfenson and me, and he wanted to get to the bottom of the corruption there. And he wrote to the person who represented France to get them to own up to the fact that things were corrupt. And I also went, I did what you're supposed to do as a lawyer. I went up the corporate ladder, and when that didn't work, I went to the Treasury Department. And when that didn't work, I went to the U.S. Congress. And the only person who was active and honest was Senator Lugar. So you can see the correspondence with Senator Lugar. There was supposed to be a study of the Government Accounting Office, but that study never happened. There was supposed to be an investigation by a group inside the World Bank called the Integrity Department, and some of the people that worked for the Integrity Department got fired. Now, I was working with many whistleblowers in the World Bank, and you can see correspondence with them. One of the people that has been helping, because it's not so that everybody's been corrupt and everybody's been dishonest. There have been a number of people who have understood that there was corruption and that have tried to fight it. In addition to Peter Stack and some of the other whistleblowers at the World Bank, the way the World Bank was started, there were people from Russia who realized that the World Bank was started actually to do what we're now about to do, which is to end all of this corruption. And I've given you the statements of the people from Russia who understand and understood that the World Bank was supposed to be represent the people and not the banks. But the crooks like to tell the story. They like to lie. And so I believe the Russian was Karamazov. And there was also a very eminent Russian general called Petrov who understood how corrupt everything was. And he was murdered. You see that many of the people are intimidated by, and they go along with the lie. Some people just, they realize that they're being duped, but they figure that nobody's got a chance. And the fact is, we're much stronger than the crooks. And the way I know this is because a political scientist came to the World Bank, Jacek Kugler. He developed a model from the military, the National War College, and this information is 90 to 95% accurate. And so we've been working from this model. The model started predicting years ago when I got some inquiries in the United Kingdom Parliament that our chances of ending this corruption was over 90%. And what's happening now, there are people who say, well, we don't see it, we don't believe it. What's happening is, just think of when dominoes have been lined up. It takes a while for the dominoes to finish knocking each other down. But the dominoes are in place. And what is this model? It's not like artificial intelligence at all. What it is it predicts which coalitions will form. And you've seen many of these coalitions. You've seen the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But there are other signs that this coalition exists. And one of the biggest signs that the coalition exists is the fact that I'm still alive because they're protecting me. And one of the things that happened to tell me that I was